Hello everyone, welcome back to the second lecture of this polity revision series, and in this lecture we are going to discuss about the salient features of the Indian Constitution. Alright, I hope you liked the previous lecture, and let's start this lecture without any further delay. The very first salient feature is that our constitution is the lengthiest written constitution. So as we know, constitution is of two types, the written one and the unwritten one. The India and America follows the written constitution, and the Britain follows the unwritten constitution. So actually what happens there is they have several kind of laws which actually they call as a constitution. So that's a completely different thing. You can refer to the Laxmikanth for more details. But let's quickly revise that why we call our constitution as the lengthiest one. And if you want to do an active recall question here, you can tell me who told that Indian constitution is elephantine constitution. I want you to answer this question in the comments. Let's discuss what are the reasons behind it. First reason is the geographical vastness. As you know, for any law to be being applicable in each and every point of the country, it has to be crystal and clear. So that's why our constitution is written in that manner so that there could not be any exceptions for any part of the country. So that's why our constitution became a very lengthiest one. Let's discuss this second topic, that is the influence of Government of India Act 1935. As I told you in the previous lecture, there were a lot of concepts which were taken from this act into our original constitution. This act was already very bulky, and if you take concepts from those acts, your constitution is deemed to be very bulky. The third one is the single constitution. We have a single constitutions for both center and states. And the last one is the dominance of legal luminaries in the Constituent Assembly. If you'll see the list of people in the Constituent Assembly, you will find that maximum of them are either barristers and lawyers or either people from legal background. And you know that the legal language is already written in very thorough manner. That each and every word, each and every clause should be very clear. And that is why sometimes our constitution is also known as the lawyer's heaven. So now you know why our constitution is being called as lengthiest written constitution. Alright, now let's discuss the second feature. Our constitution took reference from various sources. The first one is the Government of India Act 1935, and the various constitutions of different countries were taken as reference. American Constitution, British, Irish, Japanese, USSR, South African, etc. We will actually discuss this more in our sources of constitution lecture. Now, the third feature is the parliamentary form of government. In the United States, they follow something known as presidential form of government, as you know. And if you can tell me, just tell me in the comments that in the presidential form of government, do the president is responsible to the legislature or not? In India, we follow the parliamentary form of government. Let's quickly discuss the difference between British parliamentary system and the Indian parliamentary system. In Britain, their parliament is sovereign, but our parliament is not sovereign. And why is that so? We'll discuss later, but let's first discuss the second point. That is, they have a monarch, that is their head of state is a hereditary monarch. But in India, we have elected head. That's why we call ourselves republic. And now let's discuss what does these two words means. But before telling you the difference between these two, let's discuss what does the word sovereign actually means. So do the active recall. Come on, quickly. And try to remember what does the word sovereign means. And if you remember, you would have known that it simply means that there could not be any kind of political, economical or any kind of influence from the outer world. So when we call India as a sovereign country, we are sovereign, it basically means that no other country, no other group or anybody from outside could tell us that what we have to do. We are responsible for our own matters. That's all. Then quickly compare that in India, the lawmaking process is actually sovereign. And you will realize it's not, because we have something which is known as the judicial review. The concept of judicial review. What exactly happens there? That any law, any order passed by the parliament or executive could be challenged into the code of law, and the courts can decide that whether that law is constitutional or not, whether that law has followed the proper channels of due process of law, procedures established by law, and whether that law is even just, means, and fair. And if our court finds that law is not passing the proper scrutinized channels, then that law could be declared as unconstitutional and null and void. But in Britain, this does not happen. They have judicial review, but that judicial review is completely different from what we have. So that is why we call our parliament is not sovereign. The lawmaking process is completely and highly influenced by outer things, outer bodies. Let's say the very foremost one is the judiciary. Alright, I hope you get this point. Now, if I quickly tell you that what's the difference between judicial review in India, in US and in Britain, so to give you in a very clear line, I can say that you remember like this. The Indian judicial review system is narrower than the United States, but wider than the British one. Simple, as clear as that. Let's quickly discuss the parliamentary features of India. We have nominal and real executives, and you know who are the nominal ones and who are the real ones. We have something known as majority party rule. The party who has the maximum number of votes enjoys to being in government of India. The third is the collective responsibility of executive to legislature. Our whole executive is responsible to legislature, the parliament, and especially the Lok Sabha. You have to remember a basic concept in whole polity, that each and everywhere you will find executive being responsible to legislature. This is our core feature. This is also a part of basic structure. The next feature is the membership of ministers in legislature. And the next feature is the leadership of prime minister and chief minister, and the dissolution of lower house. These are the features, these are the primary features of our Indian parliamentary system. Now let's discuss the next salient feature of our constitution. It is both the blend of both rigidity and flexibility. And how we call it rigid? Because it has a special procedure for amendment. You cannot easily amend the constitution. You must have a proper majority. A special kind of majority is needed to even edit the constitution. That's why we call it a rigid feature. But how it's flexible? Some features of the constitutions are amended with just like an ordinary laws. There are some features in the constitution, as you know, that it requires just a simple majority to make amendments in that. But there are certain features in the constitution as well that requires a very special procedure. And after the Keshwananda Bharati case 1973, that procedure became even more hard. So Indian constitution is rigid plus flexible. How it's rigid? Article 368, the amendments in constitution could be done only by special majority plus majority of present and voting, 2/3 majority of present and voting. So this criteria has to be followed to make a constitutional amendment under Article 368. But how it's flexible? Any amendment done outside of Article 368 could be done with the simple majority. The next feature is the federal system with a unitary biases. Our constitution says that we are federal, but there are a lot of features which clearly says that we are not federal completely. We have certain unitary tilt. And what are those features? What are the federal features which clearly shows that we are a federal country? Division of power, the two government at the state and central level, the written constitution, the independent judiciary, etc. And what are the unitary features? Core unitary features in the constitution? Strong center, single constitution, single citizenship, flexibility of constitution, and integrated judiciary. These are the features which are completely in unitary nature. As we know that we have integrated and independent judiciary, which means that at the apex court we have Supreme Court, then at the state level apex court we have high courts, and under high courts we have subordinate courts. So these integrated means enforces both central and state laws. I hope you got the point. Here one thing you should remember, that Supreme Court and High Courts are not subordinate to each other. They are actually at the same pedestal. Supreme Court and High Court are at the same pedestal. They are not subordinate to each other. Okay. And the next feature is the synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. In Britain, they have something known as parliamentary sovereignty, as I've just told you. And America, they have something known as judicial supremacy. As I've just told you that American judicial review is higher than the Indian one. That has a wider scope. But in India, we have Parliament's power to amend the constitution, and in the same way, we have the Supreme Court's judicial review. That whatever the amendment you have made, whether that is right or wrong, it has to be decided by the judicial review. I hope you got the point. Next feature is the fundamental rights. We have something known as the fundamental rights. Rights of each and every citizen that state cannot easily take away. They promote political democracy. They are justiciable in nature. You can directly move to the courts to get your fundamental rights enforced. They are not absolute, of course. There is a reasonable restrictions in each one of them. And they are not sacrosanct as well. They can be repealed. We will discuss these all features in the fundamental right lecture. We have a secular state. That is, our state has no religion. There are two types of concept of secularism. The first one is negative and the second one is positive. The Western concept is generally known as a negative concept. Why? Because there is a complete separation between state and the religion. Like a wall is situated between the religion and the state. But in Indian situation is quite different. And you can see this in day-to-day business as well, that why Indian situation is different as being of the Western one. Because we take the responsibility to protection of all religions equally. Indian state though has no state religion, but it also ensures that no other religions harms any other religions. So we act as the protector of religions. So this is a positive concept. So in Indian situation, if one religious community is minding its own business and another religious community is minding its own business and they are not interfering in any way, the state closes its eyes. State has no interference. But the moment one starts interfering into others' matter, the state comes and stops that. So we have something known as the positive concept of secularism. Next feature is that we have independent bodies. That's the bulwark of democratic system. Election Commission, CAG, UPSC, SPSCs, they are independent bodies. Independence through security of tenures, fixed service conditions, and their expenses are charged on Consolidated Fund of India. That makes them independent bodies. We have something known as emergency provisions to safeguard the sovereignty, unity, integrity, and security of the country, the democratic political system, and the constitution. We have different type of emergencies: national emergencies, state emergencies, financial emergency. And what exactly happens? The federal structures completely shifts towards the unitary structure during the emergency. And the next feature is that in our constitution we have something known as TPSP. And that is also called as the novel feature of the constitution. And who said this? You have to tell me in the comments. So there are basically three types of ideologies in which we try to fit our TPSPs. They are not actually mentioned in the constitution, these type of classifications, but we classify it for our own convenience. It promotes social and economic democracies, and they are non-justiciable in nature, as you know that. Next feature we have fundamental duties. It is added by the 42nd Amendment Act, and they are also not justiciable. Next we have is the universal adult franchise. It means that anybody who is above 18 years of age has right to vote. And this 18-year age was previously 21 years and it was reduced to 18 through 61st Constitutional Amendment Act. Next feature we have the feature of cooperative societies. It was added by 97th Constitutional Amendment. We have multi-state cooperatives and that affairs is dealt by Parliament, and we have other cooperative societies which is regulated by the state legislatures. We have single citizenship in our country, and the goal of it is to unite and integrate the Indian nation. In United States, people have dual citizenship. That is the citizenship of United States and the citizens of particular states like of New York, of Texas, of Nevada. They have particular citizens of that state as well. But in India, we are citizens of India only. We do not have our state citizenship. That is, I am citizens of Uttar Pradesh, you are citizens of your state. It is not going to happen. You have only one citizenship, that is of Indian citizenship. We have something unique, that is the three-tier government system. It was added by the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment, that is center, state, and local level. So this was the complete lecture of salient features of Constitution. There is going to be part 2 of this lecture, and in that we will discuss about the features of constitutions which were taken from the different sources, that is the sources of Indian constitutions. And I hope you like this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.